So Vijay, you will be recording the session, right?
Yes, that I'll
Okay.
start.
Okay.
Shall I start?
Yeah, I think
Just
we
let
can
me know
start
when you're
now.
starting.
Yeah, we can
And I'll...
start now. Yeah, we can start now, I think.
Sure.
Hari Gopal, you're ready, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Okay, I think we can start then the recording. So first of all, a warm welcome to all of you for this weekly series of Agile Waters. So on behalf of Agile Waters team, I'm very happy and excited to have all of you here for this webinar. As you all know, we meet every Saturday and we have a speaker from the industry who comes in and who shares his or her experiences in these sessions. And today I'm very happy to introduce to you our speaker for the day, Hargopal Pasumarthy. He is based out of Australia. And yes, I mean, you have seen a lot of safe consultants. You might have encountered a lot of safe trainers. But something interesting about Hargopal's personality or the safe consulting experience, if I'm not wrong, is you are doing it for the government sector, right? If I'm
That
not
is
wrong.
correct.
Yeah, that is something a very unique experience which we have here coming in today. And those of you who are already know about the big picture of safe, on the top left corner you see two icons in that big picture. One is enterprise and another one is government. And I think at least from my experience I can say most of the use cases come from that enterprise side, but here we have a person who has actually worked in the government sector in SAFE, and we have him coming and sharing his experiences on SAFE implementation. So I'm pretty sure this will be an exciting session. So without taking further screen space from Hargopal, let me hand it over to you, Hargopal. And once again, warm welcome to the Agile Waters fraternity. Yeah, go ahead, Hargopal. All yours from now.
Thank you, Ashutosh. Very warm welcome to everyone. Uh, like Ashutosh mentioned, I'm from Australia. I live in Canberra. And I would say good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever in the globe you are. Welcome. So I'd like to quickly start off with something that I like to show as a beginning. So I like to start off with something called fail. When I look at fail, I feel like, oh, something's not doing in the way that I supposed to do, or something is bad happening. Um, but I'd like to take that as a quote from our President Abdul Kalam. Fail is just nothing but first attempt in learning. Um, so where we actually fall into a part is in terms of learning. How best we actually learn from what we actually did some sort of an experiment and failed. It is not a fail forever. It's just a stepping stone. So I hope you all know who Abdul Kalam is. So, right. So without further ado, in this webinar, I'm going to cover these topics. I'll read them out. Framework in general, and then I'll take that to a safe framework, and why safe, and how safe actually works, and when is safe required, and what is safe, and the actual part of implementation, how a SPC, being an SPC, implement safe in any of the organizations, and levels of safe, and when do safe fail. These are all the core concepts that I'm going to cover, and I'll emphasize more on the implementation side of it because you might not be aware of how it is going to be implemented in an organization or a government sector. So this is my quick agenda. And just a little introduction about myself. My name is Hargopal Pasumarthy. I'm a SAFE program consultant, and I've got like 15 years of experience in software industry, and I have more than 8 years in the Agile methodology. And I'm a team coach and a Scrum Master at my organization, where we are going through the transformation of SAFE. So quick logistics, housekeeping stuff. This webinar is recorded and shared across, so we are aware of it. So don't worry bothering about um, the slides and stuff. So it'll be shared across for you. And exploring to customizing specific organizational needs will be discussed in the actual training, which means if it is something really burning in your organization, by looking at how it is implemented, if I go through the journey, if you think that some of the parts are missing in the organization, uh, if it is not into detail, I may not be able to cover in the Q&A section, but I try my best to answer the questions. But if anything beyond, you can definitely certainly reach me on my email, or we can actually discuss that in the actual training. And this presentation is copyrighted. Please share it with good intentions and take notes as needed. So let's begin. So we'll look into the first concept, which is framework. When I look at a framework, I picture this, a picture frame, nothing but a picture inside it. So in this picture, there are no drawbacks, issues, or anything. It is nicely worked together. You can see a nice smiling picture attached into it. Whereas when you see this one, you'll have some questions raised. Something like either the frame might need to be a bit larger, or the photo need to be zoomed out a little bit so that you'll have some alignment going in. So either way, we need to change something here. Either the picture need to be zoomed out a little, zoomed in a little bit, or zoomed out a little bit. And then either you have to increase the size of the frame. So the change is required to make the framework work. So have that in the back of your mind, and then we will go to what is a framework. This is applicable to any of the frameworks that you think of in the industry, like it's .NET framework or any framework that you're going to use to build your application on. So let's begin with the framework in the mind. Every framework will have three main concepts. First one is your content, which talks about the structure of a framework, which means if you say, for example, you take a house, your frames, roof, and maybe your concrete slab are going to be the base structure of a framework. So that basically defines an architecture or a mental model. And you've got processes. Processes are nothing but activities. Basically, to make sure the plan of a structure work, we need some processes in place. If I take it into software world, most of you guys are already aware of Agile and Scrum and everything, some of you guys. So if you take in the software industry, your iteration planning, iteration retrospective, PI planning, all these individual concepts are going to be your processes or activities that involve within a framework. And the third one is your organization, which is nothing but basically people and your roles. So a framework will have all these three uh, to have the structure enabled for your organization to have uh, a framework implemented, if that makes sense. So have that in your mind, and we'll come back to that framework concept a little later. Now we'll look into what is Agile and what is an Agile team. There are thousands of definitions available online about what is Agile. So it is just in a clear, concise manner. If I just put together in 4 or 5 words, I can just say simply like deliver value to the customer with fewer feedback loops, meaning you're going to deliver faster a product or a service faster with fewer feedback loops. That means you go and talk to the customer and you'll say whether this product is working fine or not in fewer increments. That's what is Agile about. And what is an Agile team? To deliver what is a customer needs, You need to have a team that supports and delivers value to the customer. In the actual uh, definition point of view, it reads like this. In SAFE, an agile team is a cross-functional group of 5 or 11 individuals who define, build, test, and deliver value in incremental value in shorter time blocks, which means you are actually supporting what Agile is doing and you're delivering value. Um, Now we look into why SAFE, why we need it. To have visibility and strategic alignment in the planning, to have visibility of your program execution or your development execution or any sort of implementation that you're doing, you want to have better visibility of it, people who are doing what, and how do we best assist them in the right time, removing roadblocks. To have those visibility, we need SAFE. And the second one is it guarantees higher productivity and transparency, meaning as we are actually delivering value to the customer in incremental fashion, it is providing value quicker with less or fewer feedback loops, right? That is where your productivity comes. And visibility also connects to the transparency. So to have the visibility and strategic planning with collaboration, you will have better product and better value outcome. And also, you will have multiple scrums working together within a team, which is a program increment. That is where SAFE actually thrives, which we will look into it in the next sections. What is a PI, which is a program increment, what is the art, and how it actually connects together, value streams, and other bits and pieces. So we also have cross-functional scrums, cross-functional teams working towards a common goal. I've written as an epic. It can be a feature, can be a user story. They work together to solve a particular problem or a particular requirement in this case, so that the customer gets value out of it. Also, teams working in common cadence. Cadence is nothing but you might have already aware of scrums working in say iterations. Iteration run for like maybe 2 weeks, sometimes 3 weeks. So if you actually cat off 3 or 4 scrums together and you ask them to work in parallel, which is called a cadence. So if you want that to happen and take it to a next level, to a scaled level, you will need SAFE. Next, we'll look into what is SAFE. If you have any questions or anything, feel free to note them, or and we'll discuss about them at the end of the session, so it'll be easier so that the flow won't disturb all of them. So what is SAFE? This is actually coming from Scaled Agile Framework itself. Dean Leffingwell is the creator of SAFE. According to him, this is what is SAFE. SAFE for Lean Enterprise is a knowledge base of proven integrated principles, practices, and competencies for achieving business agility using Lean, Agile, and DevOps. Most of you are actually familiar with DevOps, which basically have CI/CD pipeline, continuous integration, continuous development. Agile, we just discussed about what is Agile and why it's Agile. And Lean principles. Lean principle is nothing but you try to minimize waste by improving the productivity so that you will have better outcome. So if I put together all these three, you can see the core competencies of SAFE are the first one, and your DevOps as the second one. Third one is your growth mindset, which is nothing but lean thinking. We'll look into what is a fixed mindset at the later stages. Now I'll take you to a small journey of customer centricity. I'll take a small example. In this slide, what you're seeing is a network or a software development team working with a customer. When you start off with any of the companies, your company will be smaller. You're not scaled to an enterprise level and you start a business, right? So you start with a small group of people. You might have like 3 or 4 developers, one tester, and sitting closely with the customer and fixing and delivering value to the customer in the regular intervals, and customer is collaboratively working together. So that is what really in a customer centricity way, when we look at in a smaller sector, eventually what actually happens is that, oops, sorry, you will have um, your organization growing or your company slowly grows into a place where you will have multiple connecting points. Like if you're delivering something, you might have multiple delivery points. If you're building something, you might have multiple uh, building points. So your company basically expands. Once it expands, you will try to link that uh, your expansion to your customers and try to create the bridge. In other words, you might actually have, initially, you might
Hello?
have just 1 or 2 developers or
Guys,
3 developers.
Yoga.
So,
Yeah, go ahead, Hargopal. I think someone got unmuted. Go ahead, go ahead. Sorry for
yeah,
that.
thank you. That's fine, no problems at all. So I'll come back to the previous point again. So say when you actually start, you've got like 3 or 4 developers and one tester, and you're trying to basically solve a problem or a requirement to the customer by working very closely with him. When the business expands, you will have your hierarchy, which like you will become a CIO and you will have a CFO and 2 or 3 tech leads, then your development team, then you have a test manager and test lead and few testers. So you have your hierarchy growing, right? Slowly what happens is you will try and link that to the original network and try to solve customers' needs or provide customer value. What actually happens in this case is that you will slowly forget about the customer and you will concentrate more on the your structure or organizational structure. If I take a government sector, this is quite common that you basically see this growing, and your customer will be sitting somewhere, and then you will fall in a direction where you've got a lot of process loops that you need to follow to get to the customer. And then customer will come in the waterfall example. He will come at the very end and he will look at it going, ooh, this is not what I want. So this is where this happens. And your customer no longer there, and you got only your structure. Most of your organizations or government sectors are more familiar with this kind of structure. Where am I belonging to whom I am actually reporting to, and that person reporting to someone, and that person reporting to the higher above, and this person may interact with the customer once maybe in 3-4 months, and your customer will pretty much run away. So that's where we actually, most of the organizations are at, where you've got your functional hierarchy and you've got your value stream network, and they don't align anymore. They are not in common cadence, or they're not in line. That is where SAFe actually comes as a secondary operating system, comes in the middle, uh, bridges the gap between the customer centricity and your hierarchy. It doesn't actually, tell the whole hierarchy to just make them flat and not have a hierarchy at all, which is no way impossible to have it attained, maybe in the near future. So it will basically connect these dots so that you will have your functional hierarchy going and also having a customer centricity going, with a customer centricity as its primary focus. So this is actually the framework of SAFe. and we'll look into it in the next slides. So this is how it works. So now we have covered few bits of why safe and what is safe and agile and everything. Now we'll look into when is safe. When do we actually need to implement safe? When we want CI/CD, which is continuous integration, continuous exploration, or a continuous value delivery to the customer, that is when you will reach out to safe. And the second one is the transparency, like if you want clear visibility and have trust that is built within the team, and also have the inspect and adapt with faster, quicker feedback loops. And finally, built-in quality. What SAFe talks about is that you will have quality in every iteration. Instead of looking at a one PI or like 4 or 5 sprints later, look at the quality. Instead of that, what SAFe recommends is that every iteration, when there is a product or a value that comes out of the iteration, when you're doing a demo to the customer, that itself you define value at the time. So if you look at value uh, in a bigger picture, if you have quality in every delivery of it, you will attain overall quality. So now we look into the chapter of levels of SAFe. There are 4 levels. First one is essential SAFe, large solution, portfolio, and full SAFe. Names look a bit daunting, and then you see the actual framework of SAFe, it is also a bit daunting. There are quite a lot of things that are going to happen here. I'm actually showing you the full SAFe framework, which is the last one. Essential, large solution, portfolio are the tags. If you go into the website of Scale Agile framework, don't go to that now, but later. If you go to this website, you'll be able to see this framework, and every icon in this framework is clickable. That means if you click on, say, solution management, it relates to what is the solution management. Customer centricity, design thinking, scrum masters, release train engineers. So all these are icons, and you can click them to get to know more of them. So this is actually a full SAFe framework. And if you click on essential, this is where you will actually land into. So in full SAFe or essential SAFe or large solution or portfolio, the roadmap remains the same, meaning the implementation of SAFe remains the same. So that is where it actually sits. So when you click on it, basically opens up the roadmap, which is the chapter towards the main content of this webinar, which is implementation. So when a SAFe program consultant is hired in an organization, he will be implementing the roadmap or implementing SAFe in his organization by looking into what level of experience the organization has in terms of understanding, so that to that level, he will actually size the framework to suit that need, to make sure that framework is applied. When they start off with, it's going to be essential SAFe, then it'll slowly progress towards portfolio. So this picture is quite a bit daunting. When I actually look into it, it reminds me of this, a roller coaster. Now let's go into roller coaster and do the dive in. So as you saw those uh, individual steps in that roadmap, these are the actual steps that follow in each implementation. Every SAFe program consultant is well aware of how these 12 steps actually work. And based on these each step, he will be implementing SAFe. And along the way, he will also do the training activities within the organization, so that everybody in the organization will be well aware of what they're actually doing. So first first four steps I'm going to combine together and talk about all these four: reaching tipping point, training, lean agile change agents, training the executives, managers, and leaders, and create LACE, which is Lean Center of Excellence. So before we go through that, we need to understand what is a tipping point, right? Meaning the department or your public sector or private sector, anyone or an enterprise decide to take safe. They they basically need to reach one of those points called tipping point to adhere to safe values or adhere to safe principles or implement safe, right? So let's see what is the tipping point and how the companies reach the tipping point. So when we look at it, business and customer expectations, these are the some expectations that I have encountered in my career. I have actually been asked to do it for less money, budget cuts, do it for less time, time management, less resources, resource cut, and UI is not appealing. That means you've got issues with the UI, meaning they have asked for a nice, beautiful carpet in this case. But when they laid out and they delivered it, everything is done, the building is constructed, they look at the carpet and it's so confusing. So UI is not very appealing, not fast enough. System is so sluggish, should have been done so much performance testing. So customers complain saying it's not fast enough. And they changed their mind in terms of the functionality. That is a big no-no when we are looking into waterfall. So when they look at it going, oh, I didn't like it anymore. We did discuss about it, but as we haven't actually received anything from you for a very long time, we changed our mind. We want something different. And also these two are very critical. Your competitor is very clever. Um, he's doing the same product with faster time frames. So we really not keen to get it. Or not enough testing has been done in your product. So many bugs we are identifying once you deliver or deploy. So we're talking about the tipping point, right? So in these are all actually we encounter in a typical waterfall. Plus more. These are the highlights of what I have actually encountered, which creates something called a burning platform. So that means you're constantly adding something to it, but end of the day, you're not getting anything back. And you're just trying to basically put too much into the existing systems and making it more complex. And the customers just go run away. And the second, you can see this pretty picture. One time when I actually looked at it, I was a bit confused whether it is a duck head or a rabbit. So business needs are in business language and nobody there to explain them to the developers what to develop. So they thought it is a rabbit, but from the business side, it is a duck. So there are ambiguity in the requirements and confusion in the requirement. So that's one cause of reaching the tipping point. Organizations may have actually go through the whole burning platform side of it where everything is changing, customers are not happy. That may be one cause. The second one is proactive leadership, meaning the leaders they have a good vision for future. They have heard about safe, or they have heard about agile, or they have heard about scrum in other areas, and they want to adapt it. That could be the second reason. A motivation. And then they have something called a sense of urgency. That means they are losing customers and they want to do something rapidly. They want to do something really quick so that they will be able to get the customer back and have their profits back. And that sense of urgency sometimes will be created by SPCs as well in a in an environment where the department or the organization doesn't realize the losses. The losses are happening and they are not actually looking at those losses, but they are more concentrated more on developing something or looking at their org structure, putting more people in, pushing more budget, times. They just add more and more, but they don't give value towards the loss that they are encountering. In that case, sometimes SPCs give some sort of an urgency by providing stats of what is that they are lacking. And they, in the sense, the leadership will have something called um, change helps you move on and change means progress. If they have in their minds, sometimes what happens is instead of the burning platform, they believe that out there something is really good, so let's uh, you know make it forward and adapt to safe. So the second point that comes is, okay, now we reach the tipping point, now what? Meaning the CIO of the organization now realized that, okay, we're not able to deliver value. We have issues, budget issues, projects are getting delayed. So we have so many happening. Now we understood we need to adapt to safe, or we need to somehow get the species into our organization, make our organization into a work in agile fashion. So now what they do? So what they do is basically they hire SPCs and they train the they they train the change agents. In other words, they're they're within the organization. It's not safe is not saying like get rid of the old people and get only the people who are trained and start fresh. It doesn't say that. It basically says that get the people who are within the organization, try and train them. So first they do is train the change agents, train executives and managers and leaders, whoever their leaders could be, and they will come and learn safe. In this case, basically they will learn leading safe. Leading safe is actually covered across the implementation side of it. I guess that's why this is most famous, I guess, certification to do. And safe for government and lean portfolio management. So change agents, change executives, all the leaders, no, change agents and your executives and managers, um, they will get trained by SPCs to create something called LACE, which is Lean Center of Excellence. So this Lean Center of Excellence is a small dedicated group uh, for implementing safe within an organization. This could be a scrum master, product owner, and a small team, 3 or 4 people. They come together and they will form and they will understand what the implementation steps are through SPCs, and they will become the change agents to agile ways of working. Now the fifth step, we've actually covered 4 steps. We reached the tipping point. We trained the people within the in our organization. Now we reached the tipping point. We understood what is agile about and what is their current situation. They reached that, and then they have got the training. Now, once they got the training, necessary tools and techniques within their hands, they will identify something called value streams. So there are 2 types of value streams. One is a development value stream and an operational value stream. We will go through with clear examples, but in this slide I will go through what are the value streams and what are that they identify. Yeah, first one is identify the operational value streams, identify solutions or systems, identify people who are delivering the value, development value streams, who are actually the agile teams or your scrum teams, and add the people from the business side and have a product owner link to it, and realize the importance into realize the development value streams into arts, the agile release trends. We will go through it one by one. So operational value stream. So identification of an operational value stream. Generally, SPCs, once they give the training, they will understand what the business is trying to achieve. Yeah. So I'm taking this example from Scaled Agile. It is talking about a loan. How do we actually provide a loan to a customer? Yeah. So there are steps in it. First one is going to be your attracting a customer. Second one is rate code, completing loan until you close a loan. So these are all the operation side of it. There are no systems involved in it. There is no development. There is no UI. There is no prototype. There nothing. So it's just operation steps from one end to another. Series of steps to provide value in sequence. It's just an operation side of it. So a value is nothing but a continuous flow of something to a customer. Yeah. So that something is going to be defined in the operation side of it. Yeah. Once the operation identified, they identify the solutions or systems. So systems are nothing but connecting dots. What is that system going to provide uh, value to the customer for that operation? So in this same example, attracting a customer could be the first one. And channels is a system, meaning the customer actually typed in Google saying, I would like to find a home loan uh, for this bank. Yeah. And we actually provide multiple channels to that query. And we say, instead of just that bank, we're going to say 10 different banks you can compare against. And we give him a clear visibility of all the banks that are there. And then he'll be able to choose one. And once he chose a bank, he will get a quick rate quote. What is the interest rate that he will be getting into? And then you've got a loan originating system that basically links within our bank, provides all the information to him. If he is happy with it, there is another system that basically checks his credit score rating, whether he is eligible to take it. Is he withdrawal or defaulted anyway? So we do another system that supports it. And then we have another system, which is our core banking system that does all these 4 steps to close the loan. So you've got systems linked to each operation. Yeah. Now we look into people that support these systems. Your development teams who develop and build the solutions for each system. Could be that. You've got design team that basically comes and creates prototypes, and development team takes that prototype and develops it. Testing team takes that developed build, tests it and deploy it, and then goes to the customer. So these are the people who support and work with these systems. Yeah. Now we are identifying the people here. And here is the last step. We are actually looking at identifying the value streams into development side of it. This is nothing but if you see a scrum team, you've got like 5 to 11 individuals who are working towards um, providing a value to the customer, right? Those are the development value streams. They will actually understand all these bits of it. You will have a customer and a product owner associated to it at each level of the operation, and then dedicated system and dedicated development, cross-functional development agile team working together. That means they are cross-functional. They know what's actually happening in and out of the system, plus the integration points of each points with each system as well. So once the uh, development value stream, once the development team is identified, that is where you will have your system build happens. which is basically nothing but having um, the solution delivered to agency. Sorry. Yeah. So you will basically, in this step, what you do is you've identified the value streams, you have identified the teams who are going to deliver the value. Now we're going to add all the people within it to create something called ART, Agile Release Train. So this is very on a high level, a definition of ART that comes from scaled Agile is incrementally delivering value where applicable with one or more solutions in the value stream. So value stream can have one or um, more values, more outcome for each value stream with a continuous delivery pipeline, meaning you've got continuous exploration, continuous integration, and continuous deployment. When we integrate together, it is going to form as an art. Art will have your defining, building, validating, and releasing that happens within a time box. And you will provide value in incremental fashion. You will actually have, like every PI, you will have a PI system demo, which we will cover in the next slides. Once we have the PI system demo to the product owner, you will have an incremental value. So this is what we actually covered in a pretty high level, where we just went through identifying value streams, identifying your systems, identifying your development value streams, identifying your people and your team members, and you've got your arts, which is release trains. Now, once we finish identifying, we'll go through something called PI planning. So PI planning will have what is it that we're trying to basically achieve within, say, 5 to 6 sprints. Sprint is like another 2-3 week interval, time boxed. So each PI is going to be 5 to 6 sprints or iterations. So when we look at this as an example, you've got May, June, July, and you've got PI planning happening in this end of May or middle of May. And these are all the activities or objectives that they identified um, during the PI planning. Yeah, we haven't actually launched any planning yet. We just planned it. First one is going to be prepare Art 1 for launch. It could be your first objective. Train your leaders, train Scrum Masters, train all your POPMs, and train teams and launch Art and town hall leaders. And there are uncommitted objectives like prepare a movie about Art launch. So this is your first PI that you have actually identified to launch, or you have your what you call the program increment. The next one you have planned, which is called a forecast plan. You've got PI 4 and PI 5 in this example. July and September, you've got 6 sprints in this case, for example, 5 sprints in this case, for example. You've got prepare and launch ART2, whereas this one, prepare for ART3, which is you're preparing for this, and inspect and adapt with ART1, which we will look into it in further slides, and Agile software engineering and DevOps covers in ART1. So you basically added a couple of more objectives in the next PI. In the same way, you've got your third PI, which has launch arts 3 and 5. Sorry, 3 to 5. So that means you're launching all arts. Train RTEs. RTE is release train engineer. So in the first and second PIs, you didn't have the concept of having a release train engineer. So now you realized, okay, I would like to have now a release train engineer because we are accelerating and train more SPCs, need more SPCs in the organization so they can identify value streams and they can take the essential safe to a portfolios level. And then lean portfolio management workshop and have the advanced Scrum Master at the time of accelerating. So now, so far, we have covered up until prepare for art launch. You've covered up to, create the implementation plan. Now we're looking to prepare for art launch. So I'll quickly go through one by one that we covered. We reached the tipping point. Now we realized go safe. And then we trained people, train change agents, managers, and leaders. We created something called Lean Center of Excellence with 3 or 4 people who are committed to implement safe, identify value streams, create the implementation plan. Now we prepare for the art launch. As you can see, in SAFE, it clearly says who is actually going to be trained in this particular section. So architects, scrum masters, POPM, who are product owner, product manager, and leading safe agilists. So leading safe agilists come in every area of implementation, as you can see here, here. So they pretty much have full understanding of how the implementation actually takes place. So prepare for art launch. So when you're actually preparing for the art, you will need these details like who is the Scrum Master, product owner, developer, tester, their details. They will cater this all. They, in the sense, the release train engineers, they cater all the information and they create this table and they distribute to all the team members who are going to participate. This, again, like the way we just mentioned, SPCs pretty much give training to all these 4 people, architects, leading safe, POPM, and safe Scrum Masters. Next step is going to be launching art, training team and launch art. So you've got, if I look into the whole implementation, you'll be saying, oh, how much time it's going to just do all the training? Is it going to be that easy? It looks so huge. So implementing can actually take one week with a quick start approach, which means SPCs basically train the entire organization, everyone who need to be in that journey. They will train everyone in one go, not just one SPC, though there are multiple SPCs. They will train all of them, and it's going to be more cost effective that way. Here in this case, this is actually a quick a sample from Scaled Agile. So Monday and Tuesday, as you can see, they have trained all the people. Wednesday, Thursday did the PI planning. First 2 days itself, they identified what is the value. They identified all the value streams. They identified development of on operational value streams, and they are launching PI Wednesday, Thursday by having a um, continuous delivery in their minds. And then last day, they are actually having something called an open space, which means as they have approached from waterfall to agile in like 1 week time, delivering, adapting to safe in 1 week time, they leave the last day for an open space to discuss about anything that they need to add. Say enterprise architecture need to be added, or database administrators need more information. Whoever is not in the same line while launching the art during the PI planning, they will create something called an open space so that they can all discuss, and any of the specialty roles that they need to discuss as well, they will do that one and then go safe. So as you can see, with a quick start approach, you can go safe in 1 week time. And also they will do the training, which is called Safe for Teams. Once they launch the art, it's not done or finished. They coach the art execution. In here, you can see team coaching, art coaching, and the last one is inspect and adapt event. Here we identified value streams, development, operational. We planned for a PI, we launched the PI, and now we at the stage where we are coaching the teams. First one is going to be your team coaching. Team coaching will have a dedicated Scrum Master uh, or a team coach. In other words, a SPC will also assist the Scrum Masters to mentor, to have the coaching and facilitation. Here they will actually look into iteration planning, backlog refinement, daily stand-ups. This all will be covered in Scrum Master training course. As we are looking at the bigger picture of implementing SAFe, this is going to be a bit high level. So look at it in a way that SPCs now trying to help all the team members who have launched their art and now come to a stage where they are ready to launch another art, or they are at the very end of a PI. Yeah, and they are actually trying to coach the team and agile release trains. And here they do PI planning for the next one, and the system demos. Previous PI that is finished, which is for like six sprints worth of work that is finished, they do the system demos, and they organize something called PO sync and Scrum of Scrums. They'll they in a sense say, for example, a RTE, release train engineer, working with SPC, they will organize a Scrum of Scrum event, which basically talking about all the Scrum masters and product owners. Uh, they will do two different sessions, one with the Scrum master, one with the product owner, and then they will do inspect and adapt workshop. Just on a high level, this is the inspection and adapt workshop look like. So here we do what is it that went well, what is it that didn't go well. Exactly the same way that you do in retrospective, we do that for the PI. This will be done by a release train engineer, and they'll pretty much ask everyone, all of them, like agile release teams, RTEs, system architects, POPM, product owners, product managers, business owners, stakeholders. They collide all together, all people, and then they will organize this inspect and adapt, so that what is it that they can improve in the next PI. So this is how they look into in next phase, which is launching more arts and value streams, which is almost at the very end of the session, which is identifying more. Here, when we are launching arts, in this slide, what it is talking about is a funnel, transformation backlog, and the tracks, right? So input funnel is going to be, you can call it as whatever needed by the customer. There are no WIP limits, work in progress limits. Everything will be pushed into the funnel. That means whatever the customer needs will be added in there. And then the second one is going to be your transformation backlog. So here we're actually going to prepare the value streams with their prioritization. That means here we identified what need to be done. It's a big backlog of things. And here we identified what are the items that can be prioritized with the help of your product managers or product owners. And they will be creating these values. They'll be working with their species and creating these value streams. And they will launch more arts. And then they call it sustain and improve. Every finalization of every art will have inspect and adapt. So you will sustain and improve. In SAFe, it is called as a relentless improvement. So you constantly launch more arts and continue and improve. And finally, we take that into extend into the portfolio and accelerate. In a very high level, they train the lean portfolio managers and advanced scrum masters to have the flow of value happening in a continuous manner, and they take it to the portfolio level. That means they scale it to the portfolio level, and then they'll accelerate. So that comes to the final of my presentation, and I'll quickly go through when SAFe fails. If, say, for example, if they taking shortcuts and they're not implementing correctly, or they have seen arts and launching arts very on a high level, and then they they didn't involve all the participants who need to be involved, or they haven't actually trained the people, or the culture is not adapting to the strategy of safe. That's when it fails. And the second one is more obvious: the leadership doesn't support, doesn't require expertise in organization. Definitely, that's a big no-no. And culture and strategy doesn't align, and there is fixed mindset. So they don't have a growth mindset. They don't have a mindset of uh, fail is a first attempt to learning. Instead, it is just saying that fail is something that a defeat. Then it is going to be a fixed mindset. Here are the examples of how fixed mindset will be. When they look at one or two, for example, challenges, fixed mindset, they avoid them. And criticism, ignore useful negative feedback. They ignore it. Instead of taking it to positive and turning it to something good, this is actually a fixed mindset. So if they have these, plus there are quite a few, but these are the high level, that is when actually say fails. So that's it, my quick webinar on how we implement it, and stay positive. And thank you. You can ask away the questions.
That was a wonderful presentation. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions you have, feel free to ask me. I would say this, like this is actually a 4-day full course to go through leading safe and implementing safe. I have just given a very, very high level of what it is in 1 hour time, but I guess you've got some idea, but feel free to reach out if you have any questions.
Yeah, it's a very good presentation. Really spent a lot of time in preparing. I understand. Really good one. One quick question from you for you. So this is all normal way of implementation of SAFe. So what is the differentiating factor that to go for in implementing at government sector? As you are experiencing it in government, implementing it at government sector, how have you experienced it, or what is the differentiating factor over there? This whatever is told is all normal SAFe. I agree.
Yeah, it's going to be more rigid, to be honest. I'm sorry I didn't get your name.
I'm Casey here.
Casey. Hi, Casey.
Yes.
It's going to be a bit different in government sector. In private sector, I have seen most of the people who I work with, they're already aware of Agile. They're not aware of safe way of working, meaning they were used to work in scrums, and they provide value to the customer using the scrum methodology. Scrum framework, which talks about very limited number of people and working together. But they haven't scaled it to a next level to use SAFe, where they launch PIs and launch arts, bring all the Scrum teams together, they launch it. But in my organization, when I look at government sector, worked with a couple here, it's a bit challenging because when we try to go and implement SAFe, they already have a structure, like an org structure that is there. They're tightly connected to that structure. And when we try to implement SAFe there, when we try to train them, there'll be a lot of pushback. That's my first challenge that I faced. And second thing is when we hire new people on board who are more technologically experts in SAFe, the alignment is actually not really good when we try and include them within an organization and take them on board and say, all right, guys, you now work with the guys from Scaled Agile. They know how to run safe. They are the leading safe agilists. Work with them. So there will be a big gap between what's actually in the organization and try to adapt to the new ways of working. That is another big challenge.
No, that is fine. That is the challenge would be there even in implementing safe over here normally as well as everywhere, even for that matter, Scrum as well. So what is that? The content wise, I'm asking. Content wise of safe, what is it getting different from implementing a safe in government sector?
Oh,
The same
content-wise,
yes,
it is going to be same. That's a very good question. Yeah. In a content-wise, regardless of whether it is a private sector or a government sector, the content-wise, SPCs, they don't alter anything. They take, say, for
right.
example, if I look at essential safe, right? Essential is the basic
Correct.
framework
That's
with
what I
very
want to know.
limited.
Is that
Yeah,
going to be different from what is getting implemented in enterprise level and getting differentiated from what is getting done at the government sector?
exactly. This is going to be exactly the same. The implementation side of it is going to be same, but the challenges will be a bit more.
Mm-hmm.
So
Like
we
there is
take
no
the
tailoring.
essential.
Yeah, there is no tailoring for government. It's all same. Yeah, the concept is the same.
That is right. Yes, the implementation concept is same. Um, we don't just go and say, all right, one Scrum team, you work 2-week intervals. Another Scrum team, you work in 3-week intervals because you're so used to it. So we don't tailor it to anything like that. We will tailor it to safe so that it basically falls into the essential safe category to begin with.
Yeah.
Hari, I just saw one of the slides which talks on the LPM workshops. What is the primary purpose of having these lean portfolio management workshops, Hari?
That's actually a big course by itself, lean portfolio management.
No, I know it involves a lot of participatory budgeting and all those things. But what is in essential? How does lean portfolio management enable your scaled agile framework?
Okay, you actually came to the right point anyway. You mentioned about the
I'm also an
budgeting and
SPC, Hari. I'm a certified
so
SPC. Yeah.
okay, then I would I would come back and ask you the question then.
No,
So
I know there's a big course on LPM and there's a certification on LPM. Some of my colleagues have also done that actually, like. But on a day-to-day basis, I'm wondering how exactly the LPM is applying here, or to what extent we should have the knowledge in the lean portfolio management to implement all these things, like your different configurations, as you mentioned, essential, all these levels. To implement this, what exact knowledge of LPM do you require?
particularly if I take my organization example, LPMs basically will support. They don't implement. Okay, they actually form as a lace. They might be a part of lace. In my organization, most of the LPMs are quite high in senior level. They don't even attend some of our meetings, to be honest. But
Okay.
if they are in the lace, meaning lean center of excellence team, right? When we identify the first few steps of SPCs joining within the team, and you create the lean center of excellence team, right?
Yeah.
If your LPM is in there, he'll be able to assist with the implementing safe within an organization with an SPC.
So he's more kind of a change agent or a catalyst in the process, right?
Yeah, of course. Most of the team, even the leading safe agilists, also work as a change agents. They will also have enough information. They might not be able to implement safe, but even the leading safe agilists will have an understanding of how it is implemented.
Okay. So, Hari, extended to this, one more question. What I have in my mind is this: you have this something called as participatory budgeting, right?
Mm-hmm.
How exactly is budgeting done, Hari? Do you have any insight around that actually?
Okay, I mean, generally, what SAFE recommends is that you do the budgeting by looking at the value streams. Like you fund the budgets to the value streams
Correct.
instead of having a project mindset.
Yeah.
Actually, I didn't cover
So
all this in
bigger the value stream, bigger will be the budget, right?
Sorry.
Bigger the size of the volume of the value stream, bigger will be the budget.
Yeah. How much is actually coming out of that value stream? What is it that the value stream is focusing on in terms of say operational value stream? If you take, what is the operation that the development team is targeting to develop and deploy to the customer? How much time it's going to take? They do that valuation first, and they will get the funds made for that value stream. So instead of paying, like, having the project mindset, like thinking, oh, okay, this project runs for a year, so I'll look into it 1 year, and if it extends, I'll go and speak with higher officials and get more budget.
Correct.
So instead of doing that, they look at the work-wise, they look at what is the value stream doing, and they fund the value streams.
Okay. Thanks, Hari. Go ahead. Yeah.
So to get to that level, in the sense like portfolio management level, that means it is going into the implementation of full safe. You know what I mean? Like you're implementing full safe there.
Correct.
Honestly, government organizations are, as far as I know, they're still adapting up to.
Okay. And Hari, what exactly is this participatory budgeting, Hari?
So the way that we actually look at it is in a older time, like if you say 2-3 years ago, before SAFE, the government will decide this is a particular organization that is going to deliver this. And what are all the backlog items they have? What is it that they're trying to do? What is it that they're planning to deliver?
Correct.
Instead of funding them directly, participatory budgeting, what happens is they will, just like the PI planning, like everybody comes into the group.
Correct.
All the ministers come into a place and they will discuss, say, for example, they've got a state budget of like 100 million. Then they will actually have certain aspects of looking at that budget based on what need to be fixed. So if, say, for example, someone comes up with an urgent thing that needed to be done, that will be raised as a first one, and they will do the participatory budgeting and analysis and everything, and they will get that. The remaining bits, and then end of the day, what they do is they will distribute that 100 million across all that based on the priorities and their requirements.
Okay. So you mean to say the 100 might be divided, saying like, 50, 40, 30, I mean, something like that. I mean, the higher amount will go for the highest priority one, right?
Yes, that's right.
Okay. So I was a little bit confused on that one, because I was wondering what exactly is this part. So you mean to say that the higher priority initiatives will be pushed in first, and next the lesser amount will go for the other initiatives, right?
Yeah, of course, definitely. And also, as you're a SPC, there are a couple of videos in Scaled Agile itself. They talk about, there is a nice video that's been shown in the real world, how it actually happens.
Oh, okay. I've
the
not
product
watched
owners,
that. Yeah.
And they'll come to them, and then they'll have a big hall that is set for all these key players, have the money. but they don't have the real money, but they'll have some cards.
Yeah.
They will show and they share, and then they'll.
No, the problem is, Hari, my SPCs got expired. I completed it in 2020 March, so now it's expired, and I don't have the money to really reimburse it because the company sponsored the SPC for me. So now I don't have money to reimburse it. I don't know whether I'll be able to still watch the videos and all that, right?
Yeah, unfortunately not, I guess.
Correct. Thanks, Hari. Very nice, nice presentation. Really, you really touched the heartbeat. It's wonderful. Very nice presentation, Hari.
Thank you so much, Casey.
Wonderful.
Appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Thanks.
Hello, Hargopal.
Sure. Hello. Please go ahead.
Yeah. Thanks for the session. I have this quick question. Like, what's the difference between SAFe and Scrum?
Ooh. Okay, I have been asked this question multiple times. Both are frameworks. Just put it this way. Scrum has got, I think I have actually shared my screen there, right? Are you still seeing my screen?
Yeah, now we are able to.
Okay, good. We'll quickly show you something here. So when you log into SAFe, this is what you actually see. Yeah, this is Scaled Agile Framework. Like I said, you've got Essential, which will come down to this. Large Solution opens up a little more with a little more bells and whistles, like with a little more what is it?
Hari?
The principles. Portfolio, you've got more. And full SAFe, you've got more. So they are the configurations of SAFe.
Okay.
Your Scrum is actually here. So there is no difference of Scrum and SAFe when we try to compare. Scaled Agile Framework is having Scrum as a product of it, also one of the core concepts. When we look at here, you've got multiple PIs. These are, as we discussed, we got program increments that run within each. Like, for example, we've got like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 sprints in a PI. Each sprint is going to be linked to a Scrum, for example, a Scrum team. So when we look at it, it is an expansion of, say, multiple Scrums.
Okay.
You know what I mean? It is not a comparison between Scrum framework and Agile framework, say Scaled Agile framework. In Scaled Agile, you've got ARTs, Agile Release Trains. Agile Release Trains are pretty much like hearts of SAFe. And each Agile Release Train will have multiple Scrums.
Okay, and does that mean that all the Scrum teams should be working on the same product or project?
Very good question. That is called common cadence. Meaning, say you're working on one project and you haven't actually scaled to a full or portfolio level or anything. If you're looking into Essentials, say you have been asked to work on one solution. Yeah. So these are all individual solutions. So all here we are doing is maintaining 2-week intervals. Yeah. And trying and adapting to the Scrum framework and making sure that each Scrum is coming, each
iteration.
Each iteration is actually, thank you, is actually fitting into the each PI. Does it actually make sense, or did I miss anything? If you can ask the question again, I'm happy to.
No, I got some
Hari,
sense,
I have one.
Still.
Sorry.
Yeah,
go ahead, please.
Yeah, I got some sense there, but still I'm like missing the sense. Like, why do we want to go for SAFe? Like when we are working in Scrum, right? Or when is the need that we should go from Scrum to SAFe? That clarity I did not get.
Scrum to SAFe. So is it something that you're asking, when do I implement SAFe?
Yeah.
yeah, that's where we discussed, right? Like when we have, my webcam actually broke, sorry. That's where the issue came. Scrum to scale, you know how when we discussed about the tipping point in the first few slides?
Remember it.
When we reach this tipping point, in the sense we're building the product, we're using the Scrum methodology and Scrum framework, and we're delivering value to the customer. However, we have product that requires multiple scrums that work together and form like a PI as an art to have incremental value delivery. To have that, you need to scale it to the next level. Are you with me? Like if you just have like 3 or 4 screens, if you have like 2 or 3 scrums who are working on one area to deliver a prototype or a value or a system, but other team members are not aware of it, and they're also doing Scrum in silos. What SAFe does is it will actually look at a top-down approach and clearly understands what is the value overall, and it creates the value stream and brings all the scrums together and delivers value in a PI, in a program increment.
All right. Yeah. Thanks, Argopal. I would say, and next question to that is, like, I can see on the left side we have Scrum, and down of that we have Kanban event, right? So when we are talking about iterations here, how does Kanban fit into it? Because we know it's a continuous way of working, right? Where we do not have iterations, or where we do not work in iterations or sprints, right? So how does it go with, like, when the teams are working with in Kanban style?
It supports both. The thing is, teams work in Kanban, teams work in Scrum, right? You understood the difference, right, in the first place? To begin with, you've got your backlog, right?
Yeah.
What Kanban says is your PI, your sprint planning, your retrospectives is just pretty much waste of time. Kanban what says is like pull method. That means it takes the user stories from the backlog and it starts working on it.
Yeah.
And there is something called a WIP limit in each section, which is like they'll have like 3 or 4 sections, which is task started or
from
in
one flow
progress
to another.
Ended. Yeah, they'll have WIP limits. Like if I've got like 15 story points in a WIP limit, if it reaches, then they stop.
Yeah.
And then they flow.
Yeah.
That way, what actually happens is each section of the process, like in progress or in testing, will be piled up because they constantly pull from the backlog.
Yeah.
As soon as the developers finish something, they pull it and they push it to next phase, and they constantly push it in Kanban, which is not a bad idea, which is supportive of Agile anyway. End of the day, they're actually doing every week, every 2 weeks, they're doing the delivery. Kanban doesn't actually say that you need to have a retrospective. You need to go back and have an inspect and adapt an event and then understand everything, because it's just a waste of time. I just want to pull and push more. So they sometimes say like the Scrum team stock and Kanban team works, but we need to have the balance. So it is not something that we're going to check one out and then pull one in. SAFe doesn't say it. It is only talking about you've got something called WSJF limits. It's a bit advanced understanding of WSJF limits. You can clearly have a look at what is WSJF limits, and basically defines how it actually works as well.
Yeah.
Okay. My question was here, is like, I just help me if my understanding is wrong on that front. I understood that Scrum or XP or Kanban are might be the basic bricks we can call of SAFe, right? And when we think in that way, when we talk about Kanban, and when we say, like, say we have 4 to 5 iterations, and then after each iteration, then we again have an IP planning, right? So my question is, like, here in Kanban, we are not working in iterations. So how does Kanban fit there?
No. Kanban also works in iterations. It's not something it doesn't. The only thing is, it doesn't say that you need to have a retrospective and sprint plannings because they have got a pile of backlog. They do have the similar concepts. Only difference is Agile versus Safe. It might be a bit confusing. Agile has got like 11 principles, and Safe has got 10 principles. There's one principle that basically says that doesn't match with Agile methodology principles, but both actually follow in the same direction. End of the day, whether you're looking at Scrum, Kanban, and or scaling the Scrum to Safe, it only talks about a continuous delivery of value with shorter feedback loops, regardless of which you follow.
Okay.
Before you even scale to portfolio
Level.
Hari, I have one question, Hari.
Yeah, you got
Hari, I've seen in many shops, like, organizations like Wells Fargo and all, even though they are very big financial banking organizations, sometimes they don't go for scaled agile and they settle for something like less or DAD or Nexus or some kind of framework. So what is the reason there, Hari, actually? Like,
what is the vision of what? Sorry, I didn't understand the question. What is the
no,
vision
no,
of
I'm
building
asking
something
you,
safe?
yeah, can we leverage other frameworks as good as Safe? That's what is my question.
Yeah, of course. I mean, if it is working,
Uh,
there is a word saying like don't fix it unless broken, right?
because I also
If it
heard
is
from,
working,
I did hear from a company called Fidelity saying that they used a hybrid model of using Safe and Spotify, and it did not work for the organization at all.
okay. That's where I actually mentioned in my start of the presentation where
Yeah.
tailoring it to specific things might not be covered in this webinar 1 hour because I want
Okay.
to
No worries. I think next Alberto has got a question. Let him also ask, actually. Sorry, Alberto.
It's fine.
Sorry, Alberto. Go ahead.
That's fine. Good evening, and thanks, Gopal, for your presentation.
No
Just a few questions from my side. The Safe implementation, have there been any recent success implementing Safe in government area?
Yeah. Yes. In my organization, we are implementing it. We are the first early adapters, I would say, and it is working fine so far. We're trying to scale it to portfolio, and I'm the SPC, so I'm actually interacting with RTEs to scale it to the next level.
Okay, is it a government sector? Government?
It is, yes, I work for government.
Okay. So how did you guys manage the culture change? Because it's almost like people in the government sector seem in quote laid back. They are not as fast as guys in the private sector. So how did this?
First of all, to get to the culture, there are like 4 types of culture, something that I have actually read somewhere, which talks about fixed mindset and blaming culture, and there are few cultures in there. The first thing that we need to address is culture. If culture doesn't support, whatever strategy you put, whatever framework you try to implement, it will not work. There is a saying in scaled agile itself, which says culture eats strategy for breakfast.
Yeah.
Meaning, if your culture doesn't support it, it won't work. If I give you an example, you've got a manager next to you, a project manager. As you know, in agile, in scaled agile, there is no word called project. It is all product. There are product managers, product owners. There is no concept as project manager. If there is a project manager in your organization, he will be trained to work as a product manager or a lean portfolio manager, so that he will be adhering to the continuous delivery value stream. So coming back to the culture, if they have the project in their mind, if they have 1 year fixed budget in their mind, try to adapt to agile and try to incorporate safe side of work, or the participatory budgeting. They didn't even adapt to it, but they want to have certain aspects of safe because just they like it. They can produce some more value for their own benefits. It will definitely fail. You need to have good culture. That's where you need to start.
Okay. So another one is when you look at it, safe seems to be expensive. I hear one of the participants here say, okay, SPCs expired, can't renew and all that.